Stewardship of resources. So, stewardship of resources is another way of seeing it for today is management of resources. So, no matter how small or big a project may seem, that or how least important or most important is to be able to increase, you have to be able to manage what you currently have in front of you. If you do not do that, you will also risk losing even what you currently have. So what we're going to be going into is what is management and what is mismanagement. So does anybody have any examples of what management is? Oh, don't be shy. You guys can mute yourself. We can have a discussion here.
I think it's getting, I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
So I think being organized and understanding the task and understanding how to do an assessment on what you need or what you don't need, maybe what we need in order to be successful.
Is there anybody else that has thoughts on what management is?
Yes, I do. Being able to do
Start talking.
so, being able to do the most you can, being able to do the most and best that you can with the resources that you have.
Is there anybody else that has thoughts on what management is?
Yes. Also, because some of your resources will be the people that you are managing,
Mhm.
you need to treat them fairly and no favoritism. Just treat them fairly.
There we go.
Yep.
And understand each person you're working with, their strengths and their weaknesses.
Exactly.
That relation, communication where you know what the job they could do and what job might not be suitable for them.
Yes, and then utilizing them in such capacity so that you're setting them up for success. Hey guys, sorry, I just wanted to chime in since y'all was stirring it up. So I was like, okay, let me get mine in there too.
Yeah, there we go. So next one. So what is mismanagement?
Not taking care of what you have, what you're using, and what of your resources. Not using your resources to their highest potential is what I want to say.
That's the same thing I was saying.
Or
not
abusing
using
resources.
something
It's
for
the
its
absolute
normal-
opposite of what is management. Absolute opposite.
That's a cheat answer. You gotta be specific.
Yes,
So
it's a cheap answer, but it's the truth.
So
But it definitely-
it's not using something for in its intended purpose. So something that's created for a certain purpose, if you don't follow that intended purpose, I think that's mismanagement.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have different, and all of them are correct, what management is and what mismanagement is. And the thing about it is that management, regardless if, as you were saying, different type of resources, people, that could be supplies, that could be money, that can even apply to your own life and your own household. And management takes effort. It takes work. You have to focus on it and make sure that you're utilizing every little piece and not wasting anything. When it comes to mismanagement, it's easy for mismanagement to happen. All you have to do is do nothing and mismanagement will occur. And the thing with mismanagement is that it can, like with management, it occurs in your life, it occurs in your business, it can occur with your relationships. It just mismanagement for it to occur is the opposite of management, which is just don't have to work and they'll just fall into ruin. And the things to reference for this too is Proverbs 10:4. He becometh poor that dealeth with a slack hand, but the hand of the diligent make it rich. That's the King James Version. If you want the NIV version, it's lazy hands make for poverty, but diligent hands bring wealth. So one of the things you have to start doing is that it just says there right in the verse, for mismanagement to occur, for you to fall into poverty, for everything to fall into ruin. You just have to not do anything. When it comes to management or stewardship of resources, that requires effort, that requires work, and you have to put that energy towards something to build off of it. So next, what we have is principles of management or stewardship. One of the first ones you have is stewardship is not ownership. And this is something that people have a hard time accepting is we don't own anything. Let's just be truthfully honest. We didn't build any of this. All of it, your house, your car, the roads, the trees, your money, it's not yours. The Most High made all of this. And that is part of what stewardship or management is, that whatever is in front of you is not yours. The Most High has given it to you to manage. And if you can't manage the little, you're not going to be given more for it. And one of the other principles of that is order and organization are the foundations of management. And you see this also in Genesis when the Most High was creating the heavens and the earth. The first thing he did was he put order and organization in first. So if everything is not ordered, if it's not organized for you to be able to see what you have, so taking an inventory of what you have, then how are you supposed to manage it if you don't know what you have? It's like you could be, okay, you know how you have those times where it's like, wait, where did this extra $100 come from that was in a bank account that I opened years ago? That's mismanagement right there, because you didn't have order and management in your life of, hey, where are all my finances? Hey, where is all my resources at? Another one you have is you must understand the assignment and the instructions. And this one takes a little bit more time for it, because you get your assignment and your understanding from the Most High for it. So you have to understand, what is my assignment? So you're given a house. So what is my assignment with the house? Or if you're in a leadership position where you're leading a team, understanding, okay, I have my team here. So what is my team's assignment? What are the instructions that I need to give them to move this mission forward? So you have to know what your mission is first. And the fourth principle of management is you were created for management of the earth. And this is another thing that people get mixed up is, if you read in Genesis, it says that the Most High made us to dominate the earth, which means manage the earth. It didn't say anything about us dominating each other. That's something that we don't have control over, and we're not supposed to have control over. There's a reason why it sometimes feels very frustrating when somebody tries to use their position of power to make you or force you, is more of a word for it, to complete a job. And that's the reason why I usually end up bucking against that, is because we're not made to pretty much be managing each other. We're supposed to be collaborating and managing the earth. And what we have are also 5 principles of mismanagement, which is a misuse of resources. So just as we were saying, it's easy to misuse of resources, which is, that could be like embezzling. So if you're like an accountant and you're not making sure the books are balanced, or you're trying to scheme some off the top, that is a misuse of resources. If, let's say, you're given a piece of property that you're supposed to maintain, either by you bought it or you renting it, you're not taking care of the land, that's a misuse of resources. Another principle is whatever is mismanaged, you will lose. So just as what we were talking about with management being having to put forth effort, put forth energy to be able to make sure the resources are used responsibly, just for misuse or mismanagement to occur, you just don't have to do anything. So let's say you got frustrated and you're like, hey, I'm not going to be paying these bills. And you're just like, oh, I'm just going to bury my head in the sand. That's mismanagement. And you can potentially end up waking up the next morning and seeing your car gone. Or you can end up being at the grocery store and trying to use your debit or your credit card and it got declined. The other principle is you cannot abdicate your responsibility and hold someone else accountable. So what abdicate means is to quit or to resign your position. So example of this is that, hey, I'm tired. I'm not doing this anymore. I had it, but now you got it. I'm going to walk away from this. Abdicating your responsibility and holding someone else accountable does not fix the mismanagement. You cannot delegate your own life, your own resources to someone else and expect them to do it for you. And you can see this in different relationships and even in teams with bosses who end up blaming their team instead of taking it onto themselves. That's an example of abdicating your responsibility and holding someone else accountable for it when you're the one that it started with, meaning you're the one that needs to be responsible and fix it. Another one is don't waste even the little. So what this is that regardless of how little bit of resources you may have, if you don't manage even that little amount that you have, let's just say, hey, all I have is an apartment and one car and a few bills. But it's like, I really want to have more. But if you're not taking care of the car, if you're not taking care of the apartment, if you're not trying your best to balance out your bills, even what you have, which is that car and that apartment, can be taken away from you. And even the little bit of paycheck that you bring in. And the last principle is mismanagement has a ripple effect. Now, for this one, everybody thinks if it's my life and I kind of trash it, it doesn't affect everybody else. It just affects me. And this is not the case. And a good example of this is going back into Exodus, where it even says that the curses will pass on to the third and fourth generation. And another one, when Yahusha got crucified, what did they say? Oh, put the blood on my children, my grandchildren's line. And it's, wait a second. So instead of you owning up to your responsibility, you're going back to the previous principle, you're advocating your responsibility. And now, instead of you just suffering the consequences of your actions, now your children are suffering that consequence of that action, your grandchildren are suffering the consequences of that action. And it doesn't just stay private. Your mismanagement, even of little, doesn't just affect you. There is a great potential of there being a ripple effect. And one of the things that can occur is, as I said, even if you're gone and turned into dust, it's your mismanagement still can carry on for several generations. Now for discussion here, does anybody have any experience or seen any of these principles of management and mismanagement occur in their own lives?
I was just laughing like, yes, me. Man. Me too.
Yep. I
Me
remember
three.
when I would not when I mismanaged the little money that I did have. Hey, I ain't never got my car declined, but I may not have to get what I wanted to eat. And I remember times when it's not that I didn't have the money to pay my bills, but because I didn't have it organized, I would come home and my lights off. And it's not, oh man, I ain't had no money. It's, oh man, I forgot to pay the bill on time. I just, oh, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. And then here I am sleeping in the dark until the next day when I go get my lights cut back on, which in turn cost me more money because I had to pay a reconnect.
Exactly.
So you,
Yes.
so
They
if
love them
you,
reconnect fees.
and so if I would have managed my bills correctly when they came due or when I got the bill, I should have went ahead and paid it instead of, oh, it'll be okay. I'll get it later. I'll get it later. And then I look around here and I'm in the dark. So yeah, I know about mismanagement. I've done that. And now I try to be way ahead of the curve. I'll be like, nah, how much is it? Let's just pay it or pay it in advance because I just don't want to be in a position where I miss a payment or I'm having to pay late fees or whatever because I didn't manage that bill or whatever right.
Exactly. And that's the very reason why instead of, I don't always wait for the bills to come in. What I did was I set mine up where they're paid on a credit card. And then when that bill comes in, now I pay that bill. I paid that bill immediately.
Really
Right.
way of doing it. That way, just pay one bill instead of many bills.
It was just easier for me because I've got so many things, so many other bills that are being paid by that credit card. I make one payment, everything's paid. I mean, one payment and everything's
The
paid.
cognitive elevation that Brother Red covered, you found a way that works for you on making sure that you're able to manage your finances.
Exactly. Exactly.
Does anybody else have any others that they would like to share?
I have an example. So I have some examples similar to what everyone talked about as far as mismanagement, but this one is more related to stewardship, in which I had an experience before where I guess I had an expectation for someone to give me some advice that would have been very critical or crucial for a decision that I was making. And I took their advice and I shouldn't have, and I applied it and it affected me at the end. So I don't want to really get into the specifics, but I was just thinking that because I listened to someone, I gave someone else stewardship over something that I already had stewardship on, and I listened to them, and then I ended up suffering at the end.
Yep, I've had that experience as well too. Does anybody have any positive management where you managed a little that you thought, oh, this is not going to have an effect on me, and then either in the near future or far out in the future, it came back in dividends?
Yeah, I did.
Me too. I got
When I
go ahead, sis.
when I lost my job, I got laid off. My concern was, okay, I got this house. How am I gonna pay this mortgage? And what I did was I prayed about it, and I called the mortgage company. And the lady I talked to, she said, I need you to make this phone call because they can help you so that you do not fall into that foreclosure state. And they did. So I made that phone call. I did everything they told me to do, and they helped me to maintain until I could get back on my feet. And then once I got back on my feet, I haven't had a problem since.
Exactly. And I remember some years ago when I went through a really bad time financially, but I only had a little, but whatever I had, I paid my bills and I did what I needed to do and trusted the Most High to help direct me in how I spend my money. And now I am in a lot better position than because I did what I should have done with my money back in the day. That don't mean I'm rich, but I eat what I want to.
So do I. I eat what I want to.
Blessings there, be able to eat what you
Hey.
want to and not have to go with just top ramen.
No, I'm not doing
I
that
don't
no
even
more.
eat that.
I'm not doing that. I've had to eat at McDonald's, but my car won't even, my truck won't even turn into McDonald's driveway no more. It won't do it.
No, I don't eat that stuff.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. But these are just things that I experience, and I'm sure we're not the only ones.
No,
No.
We just trusted the Most High, and when everything was said and done, He worked everything out, and my bills were paid, and there were a number of months where I even had money left over to do something else that I needed to do.
yep. So when you manage very little, you get more. So more is given onto you. Remember, that was in the previous lesson for the parable of the talents.
Yes, it was. I remember that.
Yep. So even if you only have 2 talents, say, hey, let me just manage this. And then when the master came back, oh, okay, I could give you 2 more talents for what you just did. So there we go. Our next one is getting out of the mindset of needing to be micromanaged. And this is one of the things that I know that we have all fallen into, especially with Babylon, or we have experienced it in some way. But micromanaging is pretty much excessive focus on observing and controlling subordinates. And this can end up causing a hostile environment, So what micromanaging ends up doing is, hey, you having to constantly go to your boss to get something cleared. You constantly having somebody looking over your shoulder and looking at when you're working. When you're on your computer, having software on there monitoring how many keystrokes or how much your mouse moves. And that's something that it takes time. It's not something that gets fixed overnight. It takes time of you continually working through and breaking those chains of what this capitalistic society and Western society has said that, oh no, you have to always be showing your work and you have to always be like asking your boss, okay, is this right? Okay, what's step 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5? So having that oppressive mindset of saying, hey, this is the time you have to be here. This is the time you have to leave. This is the time you take your lunch, you take your break. What does that also sound like? It doesn't just sound like work. It starts all the way back down during school age. What do you think that bell is doing to you? It's training you to be micromanaged. You're being looked at by the teacher. Oh, you have to be at school by a certain time. Oh, you hear the bell. You got to go to the next class. You only have 5 minutes to get to that next class or you'll be disciplined. Oh, you have a set amount of time for lunch. Oh, you can leave school at this time, but potentially not, depending if you ended up getting in trouble or you end up having to do extra work. And then you have to take that home and keep working. And that's all forms of different types of micromanaging. And what micromanaging keeps you from doing is it keeps you from being able to explore your thoughts and concepts. So it's very difficult when you're being micromanaged to be able to be like, hey, this is not correct. I should be able to manage myself and figure out the schedule that works for me. It keeps you from being able to take up opportunities where you can lead and design your own projects around your own experience because somebody says, based off like the status quo of this is the way we already always done it. It's probably something of us have heard. It's always been done this way. No, this is the right actual process for it, even though you bring up a different process that could be more efficient or increasingly effective for the company. It could keep you from being able to grow your skills and start applying them because you kind of think, why would I even do that if I have to keep going to my boss or keep going to the organization asking how to build this because they don't give me the freedom to do it. And that's one of the things that we run into in this society is that you literally are always being looked at and observed, where it makes you hesitant to make mistakes or make failures. And those are not bad things. Mistakes and failures pretty much are just a way of telling you it can't be done that way. Learn from it, grow from it, and then move on. And then the next project you take up, not to do that misstep again. So does anybody here have examples of being micromanaged or what micromanage is?
Yes, my job right now. They micromanage everything. Yep, mine too.
Yeah, I think it can be a time waster when they are asking you to do things that you already know how to do, or you're getting it done, but then they want to add an extra step to to waste your time. Yeah.
Or you're followed around like I am.
Yeah, and that happens for.
It happens to all of us that on this job. They follow us around everywhere.
I had a situation, actually, it happened last week before last, where, and here's the situation. My current supervisor, she's the new director of our program. And so the last supervisor, she encouraged me to take steps whenever I'm CC'd on with the directors and other people that if I know the answer, I can answer it. And so just this few weeks ago, I saw an answer. It was a job that was put in my put as part of one of my tasks that I have to do to watch over it. So it's like my baby now. And so the previous supervisor gave that to me to do and to watch over. And there was an email that came out that had me CC'd on it. And I knew the answer to what the lady from that department was asking. And I was like, I kind of went back and forth and stuff. And I was like, go on and answer it, girl. You know the answer. And so I answered it. And my new supervisor, she fired back so quick, y'all. She was like, that's not the right answer. And then, which that wasn't right. Managers, y'all know that wasn't right. And then it kind of made me deflated a little bit. Is okay, I know that answer. I know that was the right answer. And so when she answered it, my answer was in her answer. It was just that I didn't answer it the way she wanted me to answer it. But what and that's micromanager, because what she should have did is call me and let me know, okay, this particular answer, I would like for you to answer it this way. Not that your answer is wrong, because you see here, your answer is within the answer that I have, but I would like for you to answer it this way. She didn't do that.
Undermining.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Part of micromanagement.
And I felt so bad. But then the lady from the plans department, plans review, she came down. At some point, I knew her. She used to be my supervisor back in the day. And she told me, we laughed at that, me and my supervisor, when it came through, because she should have came to you. And I said, yeah, that's what I thought. She should have came to me and talked to me about it and everything. But anyway, that's a situation that I had not too long ago that happened to me on the job that was micromanaged.
But those type of scenarios that end up actually occurring in your life can end up hindering you in the future, because when you're trying to start something new for yourself, for example, it's difficult for you to think, okay, my first mind is my right mind. I know this is the right answer. I know this is the right step. But because of sometimes having been in that situation, it can make you second guess yourself. And then also too, that undermining is something to also take into your own mind too. Once you get to the point where, hey, you run your own team, is that, hey, I know to praise in public, but constructive criticism needs to be done privately.
Yeah. Because I'm telling you,
Exactly.
Sister, for saying something else something came across the chat this past week, and I knew the answer to it. I was like, I ain't answered. I ain't saying nothing. I'm not fixing
Exactly.
it. And ooh, yeah, it can cause you to get discouraged. Not that you can't do it, but just have to feel things out. You ain't trying to ruffle no feathers or nothing like that. You're just trying to do your job and go to the house.
Exactly. Because I had situations like that. I had a situation where I didn't know something that I needed to know. So I went to my supervisor and I asked him, okay, because they had times set where you can do this and you can do that. Okay, micromanaging. I said, okay. I asked my supervisor, okay, you want me to do this and this, but there's a time when I'm not supposed to do certain things. So what time is that? And he told me to go ask another employee. He would not answer me. And I went to him several times and asked him that. Because in my job at the time, I had to do skip tracing. And I had a bad phone number on an account and I had to skip to find a good phone number. I asked him, okay, so what time are we not supposed to be skip tracing? He would not tell me, would not tell me, would not tell me. I got written up for skip tracing at a time I shouldn't have been. And I told him, and it wasn't just him, it was him and another supervisor. And I told him, I came to you and I asked you, what is the cutoff time for skip tracing? I know I can skip in the morning, I can skip in the afternoon, but what's the cutoff time? And he would not tell me. But yet you write me up for something I didn't know that I asked you several times and you wouldn't answer me.
That's part of
He
it.
tried to,
As
yep,
your responsibility and putting the blame on somebody else.
exactly. And in the end, I did end up asking someone else that had been there for a while. I was kind of new. And that person told me, at this time, you do not skip at all, because they will write you up for it.
Yep.
How are we supposed to know that if we're not told?
Yep. Which also undermines trust.
Yep.
Another form of
I never trusted that man after that. And as soon as I could get out from under him, I did.
Yep.
I did.
No, but going to it, a colonized mind will oppress itself. So before I go into this, does anybody want to take a crack at what this saying means? A colonized mind will oppress itself?
Goes back to when she was talking about her answering a question and getting reprimanded for answering the question because she didn't answer it the way her supervisor felt she should. So the next time something came along and she knew the answer to it, she wouldn't answer it. And I can't say I blame her, because I probably would have done the same thing. Let somebody else do it.
Anybody else have an interpretation for this? There's really not wrong answers.
I'll take a crack at it. I would just say that, okay, I'll look at it like this. If you have accepted in your mind personally that it's been colonized, then the decisions that you make will reflect that. So if you in your mindset are not colonized, then it doesn't affect you. I don't know. I'm just saying, because you're going to always stand true to your values if it's the opposite of that.
Anyone else? Oh, come on. Let's hear from somebody different.
I can go.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm just thinking maybe we've been conditioned to think a certain way. I saw a phrase somewhere, or I'm not sure if someone said it. They said that the moment they put the chains on our mind, they took off the chains on our physical bodies. So I think once they got the chains in our mind, it did the job for them. They didn't need to enslave us physically.
Yeah,
I like that.
yeah. Because
Yeah,
that's
not
like
the
an
best
analogy
thing.
of like how they train horses, that once they train a horse that a line is on a post or the line's on their bit, they know that, hey, I can't get away from here. And to the point where they can just tie the line onto the horse's bit, have the line not even attached to a post. It can just be laying on the ground loose. That horse will not move.
Yeah, I've seen the one for, I think, I don't know if it's fleas or some kind of bugs, and they leave them in a jar that's covered for I don't know how long, maybe like a week. And then after the week has passed, they take off the jar cover, but the fleas never jump above that the cover's height.
Yeah. Know about that experiment too, because you have been conditioned to think that you are a prisoner now within this box or into this construct that they have created.
Exactly.
So does anyone have any thoughts of how you would end up moving forward from that? So what's a way of breaking out of a colonized mindset that oppresses you?
I think it's funny that this statement is up here because I was listening to Pastor Omar this morning, and he was talking about how some of us mentally keep the chains on, or shall we say the handcuffs on of sin, but because Yahushua already paid that ransom sacrifice for us, those chains are off of us. But because of past sin, we still kind of have that fear that we're going to fall back into that. So we put those handcuffs on, but they're already broken. But we don't know how to get them off. Sometimes we're maybe even comfortable in that. Like you guys were mentioning about the experiments with the fleas, comfortable in that mindset, even though we're free. We're like, no, but I'm comfortable here. My 2 cents.
So one of the things I want you to do this week is to challenge yourself. So to understand the role of a steward and putting it into actual practice. So real life application of that. It could be anything small, just as paying a bill or just being able to know what days bills come out. Or like what example that came up, having all your bills go to a credit card so that way you just have to pay the one credit card bill. I really actually like that idea. Oh, that's very innovative. The other one is challenge the status quo. So even though, yes, you have to be able to keep your job, so you have to play by their rules. Another way of going against the status quo is kind of like another person brought up in the class is, hey, as long as it don't compromise your values and for that. So another way is thinking of, hey, maybe it might be time for me to go out on my own or start building something on the side while I'm working this job, because falling under the status quo of capitalism, of Western society, of Babylon, it's just not working. It's just another form of me putting chains back on, as another student has says. And another one, and the last one is embrace change. Nothing stays constant. Change is always occurring. Just because you're in this current season doesn't mean that the season isn't going to change. That's why we have 4 seasons. That's why we have spring, summer, fall, and winter. So every change is always constant. So everything is temporary. Make sure that you're just embracing that and managing the little that you have right now and being able to build up the skills that when you're granted more. So let's say when you go from apartment to a house, or you go from a smaller car to a bigger car, you're able to have that skill set and the talents to be able to apply that in the future.